Hi, I am Mark Breyer, and this is my YouTube channel, Café com Teacher Breyer. It's a great pleasure to bring you material on grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, the English-speaking culture, and other elements of linguistics in a very simple way. This video is entirely in English, and it is designed especially for speakers of English at an intermediate level and above. You can watch it with or without captions. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about one of my favorite topics, literature. Well, this is such a complex and rich topic that I would take a lot of hours just to cover a small part of it. Thus, on this particular video, I will only mention a few things about what we should consider when reading literary works. I am very fond of reading, and just like everybody, I usually choose the authors I like the most as the criterion to pick a book from my library or from the internet. But I also read a variety of authors and kinds of literature. So I think it's always good to bear in mind that you can choose what you read by using the following criteria. The authors you like the most, the classics versus more contemporary writers, genre, poetry, short stories, novellas, novels, graphic novels, plays, writers you have never read before, characters you want to learn more about. This is especially true when we consider stories such as those by Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes or J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter. And also one very important point, your feelings and desires to enter the magical world of literature at the moment you choose something to read. Of course, the ideal condition, no matter the choice you make, is to read texts in their original language. But many times we are forced to read translated versions. I remember a classmate of mine at university saying that he wanted to learn Russian in order to read Tolstoy, Gogol, and other important Russian writers. Well, I can't read anything in Russian, so I have to read such authors translated into English or Portuguese or perhaps French or even Spanish. And as a translator myself, I can tell you that we should always give translators a chance. Another important point to consider when you read is, literature is not only about telling a story, but about many other things. Connecting personal ideas and opinions about a subject, joining sounds, producing different rhythms, exploring new realities, experimenting with words, building linguistic structures, designing a character either from reality or from pure imagination, provoking the mind, improving one's capacity to imagine and to create sceneries, movements, and events, and allowing us to learn more about ourselves and the world. Personally, I have realized that these days I have been reading mainly the classics. Over the past year, for instance, I have read authors such as Bram Stoker, Chekhov, Alexandre Dumas fils, Charles Dickens, Emily Bronte, Choderlos de Laclos, Émile Zola, and a bit of 20th century writers such as Ray Bradbury and Pablo Neruda, and contemporary writers such as J.K. Rowling, Julian Barnes, among others. Well, now let's talk a bit about the two main genres in literature, prose and poetry. When we think about prose, we immediately think about a text in a more linear way. And when we think about poetry, we tend to think about verses and stanzas, about rhyming schemes and lyricism, although there might be a lot of poetry into prose and vice versa. When we read prose, it might be a very good idea to consider whether the author's focus is on the plot, that is, on the unfolding of a story he or she wants to tell you, on language, that is, on the choice of words that will form the literary tissue offered to you, or on the opinions and the philosophical issues that the author wants you to think about. So, in a very basic and simple way, what I am trying to say is that when we read a novel, a novella, or a short story, for instance, we are getting involved in a piece of work that might offer us the opportunity to follow a story of one or more people, things, or places. Or we are exposed to combinations of words and sentences that will provide us an aesthetic pleasure that might provoke our senses and feelings, or even get to question and think more deeply about a subject that is now being posed by the author. For instance, when I think of an author such as Bram Stoker or Alexandre Dumas Fils, I get absolutely involved in their ability to tell a story, their amazing talent to captivate my attention, and interest in learning the facts that make up an amazing story. So these authors are examples of a great skill to work on narration, the storytelling process, and description, giving details about people, things, or places. This is pretty much what I will find in these authors, although they will also explore philosophical and aesthetic issues in their use of words and language. But I would find this capacity to explore language and build brilliant phrasing and sentence combinations, including the use of stream of consciousness, in a modernist author such as Virginia Woolf. She had a major concern with that, in addition to her interest in more philosophical and psychological issues related to modern life. However, let us not forget that James Joyce had also an astonishing skill to produce texts using stream of consciousness, while Tolkien had a unique talent to create his own languages. And when I think of the more psychological and philosophical points of view and issues, I do remember the works of a great German writer, Hermann Hesse. In his novels, Hesse tackles the issue of existence, self-knowledge, social condition, and so many other concerns of our world that it's impossible not to fall in love with his literary works. Well, on the PDF file for this video, you will also find a list of sites that will help you learn more about these writers. And here on your screen, you will see now a list of some books by the writers mentioned on this video. I have enjoyed reading these writers very much. So, in case you haven't read them yet, maybe this is a great stimulus for you to start reading them. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this video and keep watching the videos uploaded on my YouTube channel. They are carefully made for you. Goodbye, and let me enjoy my coffee now.